Hey, what's up, everyone? Appreciate anyone hopping in via the chat or watching in the future with the VOD. Wound up going a little bit later than I planned. I planned on streaming probably a few hours ago, but was having some internet problems. Had to call them and get a few things figured out. So hopefully, you don't have any. Hopefully, you don't have any issues today. If we wind up dropping at some point, then just know that's why. Because feels like they're doing some like maintenance stuff, but we should be okay for now. But just as I said, if we wind up dropping, that's why. But I figured I'd hop on, play some Slay the Spire, maybe do some movie stuff as well. I debated doing Resident Evil 8 because I haven't started Village yet, and I figured at some point I'm going to wind up doing that. But at this point, I was like, probably not do Village. Maybe wind up doing it on a upcoming future stream. But for now, figured do something basic, Slay the Spire, and talk some movies as well. And yeah, just kind of go from there. Just have a kind of chill stream overall. But hope everyone's having a great day. I know it's kind of a weird time, so I don't know if I want to say night, morning, whatever. Whatever time it is for you, hope you're having a great one. And I thought about doing this before jumping into Slay the Spire and just talking about like random movies. I don't know how well this will go because it's literally random, but there's like a random movie generator. Thought about like looking up just random movies and then giving my brief thoughts on them. And if anyone does happen to jump in chat, if you want to talk about any of them, happy to do that. But it's possible I may not know some of these as well. So if I do, I'll probably skip over it rather quickly. But yeah, we'll just jump in before starting up Slay the Spire. We'll do a little bit of that. Maybe throw on some music here too. I think that should be playing now. So but yeah, let me hop over to the movie stuff. And as I said, just talk about some random movies. It's on like every genre, every decade, and so forth. So if it winds up being too like rough as far as what they provide, maybe we'll like narrow it down to something like horror or something. But yeah, let me let's start off with throwing up this on screen. Hopefully that registers. It should be popping up. Let me see. Sometimes I feel like on OBS when I wind up like adding something that I haven't touched in a little bit, it's kind of delayed. There we go. This is the first one that just showed up here. So Dumbo, not exactly what I expected to start with, if I'm being honest. So is this like the animated one? Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna spend time talking about Dumbo. Most people have seen it. If you're interested, see what else we get. Stay Alive. I don't know if I've heard of this. Huh. Let me see. This isn't. Oh, is this the? Oh, this is the video game one. Actually, now I'm realizing this is the one with what's his name? Is it Frankie Muniz? If this is it, the cover photo for this one is not what I expected it to be, but he's holding a controller, so that makes sense. I think it's the one I'm thinking of where they're like in the video game. It's been a long time since I watched it. Let me see. Yeah, Frankie Muniz. This is what I'm thinking of. Not a bad movie overall. It looks like actually you can't see it on the screen, but people rated it pretty poorly. Like the people that have reviews on here gave it a 6 out of 100 and a 7 out of 100. That's too disrespectful, right? This movie wasn't that bad. It's been a long time since I watched it, but at the time it came out, what was it, like early 2000s, I think it was. I should get two separate browsers so I can just search stuff. At some point I'll probably do that too. But yeah, 2006, so mid 2000s. And it was not a bad movie. I wouldn't say it's like a great movie, but 6 out of 100 is just like disrespectful. That's like lower than a 1 out of 10. Without having seen it in a long time, probably take some notes on the ones that I am familiar with. So Stay Alive. This one, I don't know. I don't want to be like too overzealous with it. I want to say between that like 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 territory. It's definitely not as low as some people are thinking it is. Maybe we'll go with 5 out of 10. Then maybe you want to rewatch at some point soon. I'm planning to do my annual October like horror movie stuff again this year. So maybe Stay Alive could be on the list. But from what I remember, I think around like a 5 out of 10. It wasn't bad by any means. Interesting concept. I don't feel like we do that enough with like the immersion of like a game. That Black Mirror episode, I think, did that as well, but this was kind of one of the earlier ones to do that. The CGI is probably a little bit rough. It's a little dated, I would guess, at this point, but the movie was overall kind of what you'd expect. All right, what else we got here? Ben-Hur. I couldn't remember much about Ben-Hur. I know it's a popular movie. That may be blasphemous to say, but I don't remember a whole lot about it, so we're gonna pass by that one. Beethoven. What is with these movies? We got Dumbo and we got Beethoven. I think we need to switch to doing a horror only. Let's try maybe a couple more and we'll see what we get. But if it's like way off the board, then we're gonna want to probably The Luck of the Irish. This counts as a movie. This was like a Disney Channel original movie, right? We were talking about that a few streams ago, though, with like Brink and Alley Cat Strike, and what was the one with like the Cujo dog? But surprising to have that on the list here. All right, they have Luck of the Irish as rated higher than Stay Alive. That's just disrespectful. This wasn't one of my favorite Disney Channel original movies. It's got the guy from, if we want to make a horror connection, the guy from Final Destination 3. This guy right here is the main male lead in Final Destination 3, is like the main character of this movie. I vaguely remember the plot of it. It's like he gets really good at basketball, and I don't know. We'll see what the next one is. This is honestly a movie I need to rewatch or like watch for the first time even, because I've seen parts of it. I feel like I always remember seeing this in like Blockbuster as well, just like walking by being like, I really like Elijah Wood. It seems like a kind of a cool concept, but I haven't really watched it, so I need to probably add this one to the list to watch at some point. Reviews are pretty high over here on the site. It's like an 80 out of 100. That's pretty well praised, I would say. So Green Street Hooligans is one I definitely need to check out at some point. All right, we'll do maybe one more, then we'll switch over to horror specifically. Search Party. I don't know what this is. This feels like a really bad like parody movie. All right, we can't end on that. Let's end on a good one, at least, on the regular movies. Okay, Ice Princess, what is that? I don't know. That's another Disney movie, apparently. Not familiar. Bad Lieutenant, never heard of it. It's got 70 out of 100, so some people seem to like it. Who is that on the cover? Anyone know who that is? It looks like a Stallone ripoff a little bit. Bad Lieutenant. Never heard of this movie. Crime thriller. Is that this guy? Harvey Keitel? Or is that looks more like Brian McElroy. Yeah, not familiar with it, but it seems like decent feedback from it. 7 Psychopaths. Once again, not something I've heard of. I'm trying to see people on this one. Is that Colin Farrell and Ed Norton? That kind of looks like them. And Christopher Walken. It's got an 80 out of 100 review on here. Apparently I need to watch more diverse movies, because 7 Psychopaths. Let's see what this one is. Let's see the plot on this one, because it's kind of intriguing. Comedy thriller, not something you normally see combined. Yeah, it's got Walken, Sam Rockwell. That's who it is. That's not Ed Norton, Sam Rockwell. I do really like Sam Rockwell. He's always really good in movies. I like him as an actor. Colin Farrell. Woody Harrelson. Okay. I mean, maybe we'll have to give this one. What's the description of this movie? Boozy writer Marty is a man in search of a screenplay. He has a catchy title, but no story to go along with it. Marty has a couple of oddball buddies, Hans and Billy, who make a living by kidnapping rich people's dogs, then returning them and collecting the reward. Interesting. However, this time the fur flies when Hans and Billy kidnap the beloved pooch of a gangster, Woody Harrelson, and Marty uses the ensuing events as fodder for his screenplay. All right, so they steal somebody's dog they shouldn't have, and he makes a movie out of it. I'm getting like Bowfinger vibes from that. Maybe I'll check that out at some point. I mean, it's got an 80%. What was the other scores? Are they about that same too? Does he even have an IMDb score? 7.1. I mean, that's respectable. All right, I'm trying to end on one I know. Anaconda. Okay, I do know this one. Dang, they really hate on a lot of these like horror movies that are not like the best ones. 20 out of 100 is what we're putting this. So a 2 out of 10, it's better than that. Another one that the CGI is probably not the greatest on, but Anaconda was kind of a classic growing up. You have a lot of surprise like appearances here. You have Ice Cube. Was it J-Lo is the other one in it? And like Owen Wilson, I think. Is Christopher Walken also? I think that's John Voight. They are kind of similar, but I think it's John Voight in Anaconda. I think he plays the like kind of bad guy. I think they're remaking this movie or like doing another one with similar actors. Like I think Paul Rudd's in it, if I remember, and who's the other one? It's not Seth Rogen, is it? It's like kind of the comedians that you wouldn't expect, but as I said, Owen Wilson was in the previous one with Ice Cube, so I dug it for the most part. Anaconda, maybe a 6 out of 10. Slightly above average for a movie. It's a good time. I mean, it's not like a high quality movie, but any kind of creature feature you can kind of have some enjoyment with no matter what. All right, let's do let's do a couple more. I said we were going to jump off. Sucker Punch. Familiar with this movie? I don't think I've ever watched it. It's got 11 out of 100, so clearly not super well liked. Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon. Okay, this looks like one of those Clay movies. Don't think I've seen this one. Quite a variety of opinions. We have an 80 out of 100, we have a 40 out of 100, and a 60, so it probably depends if you like that style of movie. Don't Let Go. Do I know this one? She looks familiar. Is that the... That's not the girl from Searching, is it? Don't Let Go. It's hard to say. I don't think the girl on here is like highlighted in the cast. Kind of strange. But I don't think I know this one. It came out in 2019, so not too long ago. Maybe I'll check that out at some point, although it's got 30 out of 100. Logan Lucky. How have I never heard of this? But it's got this is 92 out of 100, 94 out of 100, 93 out of 100. What is this? We got James Bond over here with Daniel Craig. Adam Driver. Who's that to the left of him? It kind of looks like Josh Hartnett, but I don't think it is. Logan Lucky. Some of these stock photos for the movie aren't what I expect for the cover of the movie, so maybe that's where I'm missing this one, but I don't think I know this. It's on Netflix. Who do we have for the cast? Channing Tatum. That's Channing Tatum. I'm not used to having a beard or a goatee on him. Yeah, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig. Hilary Swank. Okay. Katie Holmes, Jack Quaid. This has got quite a few names in it. Let's see. West Virginia family man Jimmy Logan teams up with one of his armed brother Clyde and sister Melly to steal money from Charlotte Motor Speedway, North Carolina. Jimmy also recruits demolition expert Joe Bang to help them break into the track's underground system. Complications arise when a mix-up forces the crew to pull off the heist during a popular NASCAR race, while also trying to dodge a relentless FBI agent. 2017. Comedy/crime. I have to have. I'm gonna make a note to watch this movie. With reviews like that, how have I never heard of this? What's your IMDb score here? Only a 7. So why is it so highly rated on here? What's the Rotten Tomatoes for? I know Rotten Tomatoes is kind of uncertain. 92% from the critics. All right, we'll have to watch it at some point. I'll take a note. Logan Lucky. Also, I'll write down Anaconda since we did cover that one. All right, next one. Doc Hollywood. I've seen parts of this, I think, growing up, but it's been a long time, so I can't really speak to it. I like Michael J. Fox as an actor, but all right, we'll end on this one for the regular movies. Remember the Titans. Classic movie. Honestly, this one for the longest time was my answer for what my favorite movie of all time is. I've kind of steered like away from sports stuff in the last few years, so the actual like theme around it is not as of interest to me, but the like concept of the movie and like the like coming together with the team is awesome. Especially like that era trying to like overcome kind of everything else happening societally. They gave it like an 85 out of 100, 89. I think that's respectable. Honestly, Remember the Titans is a 10 out of 10 for me. That's one, if I wind up doing, I mean, I will at some point, a top 10 movies list, I would kind of expect this one to be on there because it's got everything you want in a movie. It's definitely my favorite Disney movie, I want to say. Came out in like 2000, I believe. But great acting, great story. Just not much negative you can say about it. All right, so we'll switch over to the just horror ones real quick. And I'll embarrass myself by not knowing a lot of those. All right, we'll switch genre horror. Should we switch we'll keep sub-genres open. I don't know, maybe I'll throw in decades. I transparently know stuff from like 90 and on a little bit better than some of the classics. Maybe we'll include 80. I probably haven't watched a ton of them, but we'll keep it on the list for potential inclusions here. All right, we will throw that back on. Mirrors. I've never heard of this movie. Is that, what's his name from 24? Kiefer Sutherland? That very much looks like him. Apparently this got awful reviews, 12 out of 100. So 1 out of 10. Mirrors. Came out in 2008. It is Kiefer Sutherland. Amy Smart's in it. It's really the only other name I think I recognize. And what's the plot of this one? In a bid to pull his shattered life back together, a troubled ex-cop takes a job as a security guard at the burned-out ruins of a once prosperous department store. As he patrols the hallways, he begins to see horrifying images in the ornate mirrors that still adorn the walls. Then he realizes that a malevolent force is using the mirrors to gain entrance into this world, threatening the lives of his wife and children. Okay. Kind of generic. Maybe that's why it didn't have that great of reviews. Haven't seen it, though. Werewolves Within. Not seen this movie, but I love the poster. That's like very much an iconic, like, let's have different people. Kind of like Avengers does, or like even Scream kind of did. It's got an 80 out of 100. Werewolves Within? Once again, don't know. It may wind up adding it to the list, though, if it seems intriguing. $2021. Okay. A snowstorm traps town residents together inside the local inn where newly arrived forest ranger Finn and postal worker Cecily must try to keep the peace and uncover the truth behind a mysterious creature that has begun terrorizing the community. Kind of a generic description, but I'm assuming it's just kind of an action thriller horror movie. Horror comedy? Okay. The Evil Dead. So honestly, this is the one I need to probably rewatch because it's been a long time. Like I haven't watched the original Evil Dead in, I don't know, like 20 years, I want to say. So I can't speak to it too like vividly. That whole franchise is I should probably revisit. Last year for Halloween, I did cover the remake, the 2013 remake, which I really enjoy. But the whole franchise is kind of top notch. I talked about them also on my franchise rankings. I think Evil Dead I had like 4th or something. So awesome franchise. But the first two I need to really jump back into. Army of Darkness I watched a year or so ago. And Rise and the remake I've also watched recently. But the first two I need to jump back into. I did start watching the TV show recently. I didn't get very far in it, but it was kind of intriguing. I know it got kind of canceled, cut short, but could be good. Victor Frankenstein. I've never heard of this. I don't know what's going on in this photo here. I'm intrigued, but it very much screams like bad movie. Next of Kin, Paranormal Activity. I don't know which one this is in the list. So Paranormal Activity is not a franchise I really got into. I know it came out kind of towards the back half of like Saw's run. I watched the first one, but I didn't really expand beyond that. It seemed like it was kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe not, but maybe I'll wind up going down that franchise at some point. I think you kind of lost some of the allure though, because, well, they weren't like found footage. They definitely went for that kind of mystique, being like, oh, this is like footage from the bedroom. This is really happening. So they didn't really go full found footage, but they kind of did it. So it's like, this could really happen type of thing. So you thought this could happen to you. I don't know which one Next of Kin is. I'm assuming a little bit later in the franchise, but maybe at some point I'll check out the whole Paranormal Activity lineup. A Cure for Wellness. Not familiar with this one. Got roughly a 40 out of 100, so not super well liked, it seems. Horror is kind of like weird though, where it's not typically a genre that people have favorably reviewed. I feel like that's changing a little bit recently, but you can't always trust the scores. Drag Me to Hell. So I know this movie, but I don't think I've seen it. I just know of it. It's got an 80 out of 100, so maybe you wind up adding that one to the list too. Write that one down to maybe check out. Okay. All right, this one I've seen, so I can talk about this one. I actually saw this one in a pre-screening before it came out. I got a t-shirt too that came from that I wear sometimes, but either way, I really enjoyed this. So Pennywise was a cool character, and I've obviously seen the original Stephen King like adaptation with the show they did back in the day, and that version of like the Tim Curry Pennywise, definitely creepy. I really enjoyed this one with Skarsgård doing it. I like the kid actors in this one. I definitely like the first It more than Chapter 2. I feel like they kind of drag things out a little bit too much in Chapter 2, but the original It I really enjoyed. This one, as far as a ranking, or a score rather, I don't think the people are too far off. So they have like a 67 out of 100. I'm probably a little bit nicer in that regard, where I'm going to say either a 7 or 8. Maybe we'll go with 8. That may be a little bit too generous, but for now, maybe I'll go with 8 out of 10. Just because I want to say like the second one's not the worst, but if I'm dropping off from 8, it's got to be still somewhere like in the 5 to 6 range. But I really enjoyed the first It and the characters in that one. So From Hell, don't know this one. Kind of middle of the road reviews. Looks like we got Johnny Depp there. Can't tell who the girl is with him. Johnny Depp is kind of surprisingly in horror movies, like Nightmare on Elm Street's obviously the iconic one for him. And what was it, Secret Window? I don't think I've actually seen that, but I know he's iconic in that one too. All right, Friday the 13th, Part A, Jason Takes Manhattan. I'll probably do that this Halloween season, go through all the Friday the 13th, because I've watched bits and pieces of them, but not like from completion. I don't know if I've really watched a lot of Jason Takes Manhattan. I feel like I've watched like the good ones, or at least the ones people perceive as being the good ones. Like, was it Chapter 6 or Part 6 and Part 4 are typically ones people praise. First one's obviously a little bit slower, with Pamela being kind of the more focal point there. I think a lot of people, I've heard the feedback of this one being pretty much that Jason spends the whole time, on like a boat. He doesn't really take Manhattan until like 2 minutes of the movie. So it felt like maybe it was a little misleading for people, but I need to give it like a full watch to fairly judge it. The reviews here are awful. 4 out of 100, that's kind of rough. You can't be that bad, right? It's got to be like, it can't be lower than a 2 out of 10. But we'll see. As I said, I need to go through the entire franchise to give it its fair due. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. This one I can do. Wow, they really didn't like this. 13 out of 100, 20 out of 100. This is one that I did watch all of the Nightmare movies last Halloween season, from like the first one to the last one. And honestly, I I may like Nightmare 2 the most in the franchise. I don't know if that's a common perception, but I feel like the characters I liked a little bit more. The story made a little bit more sense to me. And the only part that I didn't love, I feel like the scene with like the pool where they're like throwing chairs around and Freddy's like revealing himself to everybody. It gets a little silly there. But outside of that, I feel like the characters worked for me. The ending was decent overall because Nightmare endings don't normally pan out too well. But Nightmare on Elm Street 2 may be my favorite of the franchise. Where would I rank it? That's a tough one because it's hard to compare that against like modern horror movies where like obviously the CGI has changed a little bit. The quality of like audio and visuals have improved over time. I don't have the deep nostalgia for Nightmare that a lot of people probably do that watched it like when it came out. For now, 7 out of 10 feels like an appropriate spot. That's just kind of a straight off the cuff answer, but I think we'll go with that for now. Saw 4. Okay. Obviously, if you've watched my franchise horror rankings as well, Saw was quite high on the list. Have watched all of the movies tons of times, so it's a franchise I can kind of talk about at length. Saw was like my version of Halloween or my version of Friday the 13th or Nightmare, because this is the franchise I really watched growing up in comparison. A lot of disrespect with the review scores. 4 out of 100. Come on. Is that supposed to be like a fun because it's Saw 4? So this is a movie, though, I will say, I feel like upon multiple watchings, I gradually like the movie a little bit less and less. First time watching it, I really like the idea. Obviously, some spoilers here if you haven't watched the franchise, but I like the idea that the timelines line up with Saw 3, so that was kind of semi-twist there. I liked the Hoffman reveal. I liked a lot of the character like fates that took place. I didn't love what they did to Donnie Wahlberg. I feel like his character got like relegated to just being, killed off because they had to kill him off. And honestly, I like the Hoffman reveal, but him as a character I didn't love growing up. I feel like I've grown to like him a little bit more. Saw 4, I really liked Rigg as a character, so I liked him having like a story of him being tested. I think he does a little bit better as like a secondary character. I kind of wish Carrie got her own movie, but they obviously did her a little bit dirty in the prior film. But I overall thought he was okay. It's kind of like the main plot point of him developing. I will say the part that's not really great is like the reason he's being tested is because he goes in too much. He tries to help too much. He rushes in to help the situation. It's like you're a police officer and you're being a good person. So you're being tested because you're trying to help too much. So I didn't love that aspect of like why he was being tested. Definitely one of the examples of like poor jigsaw logic. But I liked him as a character. It's a little bit darker of a film, I'll say, and I don't think I realized that right away. I think upon rewatches is where I kind of notice it. You get the guy who gets killed in the hotel with like him stabbing his eyes with like the little buttons and then getting his like limbs ripped off. So that's kind of dark. Like the reason that guy's being tested makes sense, and it's a little bit hard to watch. So it's definitely not, I mean, obviously Saw as a concept is kind of a dark thing. You're having people be tested in like really grotesque ways. But I feel like it was a little bit grimier of a movie in comparison to something like Saw 3, where people are being tested, but you're kind of just like grossed out by stuff. You're not like, oh, that's kind of inappropriate. So I think I originally liked, honestly, upon first watch, I think I liked Saw 4 more than 3. That's no longer the case though. And Saw 4, I'm trying to think where I placed it when I did my rankings. Off the top of my head, maybe I'll give this one, as I said, I'll have to check where I had it previously, but right now my thought is Saw 4, 5 out of 10. It's an okay film. It's not really an above average film, but it's not an awful film. It's not nearly as bad as Saw 5, in my opinion, where they kind of go off the rails a little bit. But there's not a whole lot of redeeming things outside of like the reveal at the end. The opening situation I do appreciate. A lot of the openings I'm not as big a fan of. Like what is it, Saw 6, where we have the guy cutting off his stomach and then the girl cutting her arm off. I feel like we're just going for shock value with that one. And then Saw 7 with like the public display. I think it was 5, the one where we saw Hoffman's kill of the guy with like the pendulum swinging. But 4, I appreciated a little bit more because you had Art, the lawyer who's like running the trap later in the movie. He, I think, has his mouth sewn shut, and the other guy in the room has his eyes sewn shut. And they obviously can't communicate then. So there's like a chain pulling them both. And the guy with his eyes sewn shut is just like swinging a bunch. And Art can't talk because his mouth is sewn shut. And he winds up winning in that fight, but obviously he meets his demise a little bit later in the movie. Because I think that's when Riggs shoots him. But it's a cool opening sequence of like a kind of like you can't use this sense and you can't use this sense. Try to work together or someone's going to die at that point. So I like the concept of that opening situation. And yeah, it had a lot going for it at the time. The ice blocks thing is a little bit goofy, but I think part of that's just I wish we got more Donnie than we did because I liked him as a character. All right, I kind of rambled on Saw for a little bit there. Freddy versus Jason. So this is one I can't speak on. Watched it a few times. I mean, with most of these movies, the main characters aren't really the focal point, but they're not great in this movie. Obviously, the battle is Freddy and Jason. The end sequence is cool. They kind of do a Godzilla vs. King Kong where it's like, oh, nobody wins type of thing. So don't love that, but I get you want to like not disappoint a certain franchise. As far as a rating for Freddy vs. Jason, maybe I'll also go with 5 out of 10 for this one. I probably need to rewatch all of the Jason movies to see really where it fits in there. But 5 out of 10 seems like on face value appropriate. Good fighting, a little bit goofy here and there. As I said, the characters outside of Freddy and Jason are pretty forgettable, but that's not really why you're watching the movie. Leprechaun 4 in space. So I've not watched the Leprechaun franchise. I've watched the first one, and I didn't think it was good, and that's the one with Jennifer Aniston, and I kind of assume it only goes downhill from there. I've heard decent things about, what is it, Leprechaun in the Hood or Leprechaun in Space, but I kind of feel like if I watch these at some point, it's just for like the sake of going through them as opposed to actually really wanting to. So haven't watched in space. I haven't watched this one in space, but if people are interested in the future, maybe I'll do the franchise, but it kind of felt like the first one not being great. I was like, okay, they can't get better, right? So we'll see. Mr. Harrigan's Phone. I don't think I've seen this one. One of the reviewers also hadn't seen it, but the other person put a 44 out of 100. Looks intriguing. I don't know if I know this one. Let me see. 2022, so not too long ago. It's another Netflix one. Donald Sutherland's in it. That's the only name I recognize here. Horror and mystery. Okay, so it sounds like probably Donald Sutherland dies and gives the kid a phone, and then he's communicating with him afterwards. Which, I mean, honestly, as far as that being the description, this picture perfectly depicts that. So well done on whoever put this like poster together. All right, we'll do a few more of these. The Omen. Which Omen is this? I want to say if you called it The Omen, it's the original, but at the same time, this poster looks pretty new. Is this the remake of The Omen? I haven't watched the remake in a long time. It's hard for me to tell. Let me see if I can see by searching it to see if I see that poster. It looks like a newer poster, but yeah, it's got to be right. Let me just search Omen remake. Let's see if that one shows up there. Yeah, it is the Omen remake. Okay. So yeah, I saw this one, I think, in theaters. It was okay. If I remember correctly, they didn't do like a whole lot different from the original Omen. So it was just kind of like capturing a new audience. So with that respect, I don't feel like it's probably the strongest. At a preliminary thought here, I don't love religious horror either. I know this one's kind of not entirely because it's not like The Exorcist or anything like that, but it kind of has some religious tie-ins with him being like the devil. We'll say the remake for now. Maybe upon rewatch I'll change my mind, but we'll say 4 out of 10 for that one because, as I said, they don't do a whole lot new. You have like, what was it? The one person like hangs himself on the house, and you just have Damien being like a terrorizer of all people around him. If I remember, this movie opened up with like the childbirth too. I'm trying to remember if that was this one. I think it was. It was okay, but it's not something I need to watch again. So maybe I will in the future though, and we'll see if I get an upgraded or updated score there. Things heard and seen. Don't know what this one is. I also can't tell who that is in the poster. Only a 29% and a 24% from a couple people, so not highly rated. It's only on Netflix, it looks like, so it's probably a Netflix movie. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. Final Destination. Okay. So this is one I probably will jump into more at some point, but obviously this was kind of an original concept at the time. The franchise obviously spawned dramatically from it. I'm a little torn when I talk about rankings of this franchise. I think the only bad one is 4. I think that's pretty common belief. The one that tried to do 3D with the whole NASCAR stuff. And the rest of them are a good fun time. Like, they're not super high quality, like highbrow movies. You're kind of just going for seeing people get tortured, and that's about it in a fun, like, Rube Goldberg-esque way. First one being the most, like, the spawn of it all. Kind of makes me feel like you probably deserve a few more points because it created the idea. The opening scene with like the plane is, I don't know where I would rank that amongst the other ones in the franchise. It's cool. There's not really much you see beyond it crashing when they get off. Characters are decent. You have like Devon Sawa and Sean William Scott. So I don't know where I would probably rank this one. They have it a 50 out of 100. I'd probably put a little bit higher than that. Is it weird to say Final Destination, maybe a preliminary score without jumping into too much detail, 7 out of 10? It was good. I was thinking my rankings, so I haven't seen Bloodlines yet, but I think I would maybe rate them something along the lines of like 3, let's just say 3, 1, 2, 5, 4, something like that. Honestly, the first 3, on any given day, you could probably have me bounce them around. 3 is really the first one I got into, so I kind of have like rose-colored glasses with that one, even though it's not the greatest movie. But 1 through 3 are all great. 5, I think, gets a little bit too much praise because the ending is phenomenal, but it is much better than 4, so it's clearly above 4, but the first 3, you can't really go wrong with any of them. The House of the Devil. I don't know if I know this one. It's got an 82 out of 100 from people on here. Let me look this one up. The House of the Devil. Anyone in chat know this one? 2009 horror suspense. It's on Tubi right now. Ty West directed it. Okay, so the guy who did the X trilogy. Who is in this? Ty West is in the movie, it looks like, too. I don't know too many of these names as far as cast. Let's see what the plot is. Desperate to make some money so she can move into a new apartment, college student Samantha Hughes takes a mysterious babysitting job. When she arrives at the house, Mr. Ullman mentions a full lunar eclipse and explains there is no child, but that Samantha will be watching his mother instead. Kind of giving me Creep vibes, if you watch that movie. After exploring the sinister-seeming house, Samantha soon comes to realize that her employers are hiding a horrifying secret and have plans to use her dead or alive. Okay, so she takes a job. It's not what it seems. Not a cast I know, but honestly, a lot of times in horror movies or just movies in general, I kind of prefer not to know the person because if you have like an actor you recognize, you're like, okay, now I'm only thinking you from this prior role. So I kind of like names I'm not as familiar with. House of the Devil. We'll write that one down because it does have some decent reviews here. But not one I've watched, but intriguing. As I said, it kind of gives me vibes of the movie Creep. Aliens. Okay, wow. People really love this. 97 out of 100, 95 out of 100. I know it's highly praised, but I feel like the sci-fi horror genre, that kind of surprised me that like general people like it that much. Aliens, I kind of debate. I feel like people either like Alien or Aliens more. That's kind of like two different flavors. Like Alien is more horror based, where it's like confined spaces, and Aliens is a little bit more action based. Obviously, there's still horror elements, but there's more like gunfire and stuff like that. It kind of is like if you're comparing it to Resident Evil, Alien is like the first half of a Resident Evil game. Aliens is like the second half, where there's a lot more gunfire and combat. I dig it as a movie. I'm not like a hardcore fan of Aliens. I don't know where I'd put this. Once again, maybe just our preliminary score. I did watch it, I think last year even, so it's not been too long ago that I checked it out. I wouldn't put it on like one of my favorites. So like the 97 out of 100 is not really my thoughts there. It's a good movie though. Was got Bill Paxton, like Game Over Man. We'll go 7 out of 10 for now. And maybe I'll wind up reviewing that one some point in the future. But it's a good movie, but it's not really my go-to, I would say. The Ritual. This is a movie I did review. I'm kind of curious what the score I gave it. I'd have to look back for sure. So I had a video on this one. I think it's actually called like the best horror movie on Netflix or something like that, which definitely check this one out if you haven't. So it's very much Blair Witch vibes combined with a few other elements. And you have like this creature out in the woods that they encounter. And there's a little bit of like trauma as well, like PTSD elements that are brought into play here with the story. So just go into it realizing that's kind of involved with things. Kind of gives me vibes if you've played the Blair Witch video game. It's a little bit similar to that, but I really enjoyed it. You get the payoff of the creature as well, so it's not just like totally unknown. Obviously, the budget's a little bit higher than the original Blair Witch. I think when I reviewed this one, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Which, if I'm saying it's the best on Netflix, maybe that's not high enough, but that's probably around where I'd put it. It's a good movie. I would definitely recommend it for anybody that hasn't watched it. They gave it a 75 out of 100 and a 60 out of 100. I think the 75 is more accurate. It's a good time, for sure. Another paranormal activity. So this one's clearly 6. Somebody come on. Okay, so maybe I will have to watch this franchise at some point. The reviews scores on the side over here are 3 out of 100, 1 out of 100, and this guy gave it a 0 out of 100. You can't give a movie, I don't care what movie it is, I don't think you can give anything a 0. Unless you have some like vendetta against like the creators of the movie. Nothing's a 0, right? Is this movie that bad? For anyone who's seen this one, let me know in the comments afterwards, or if you're in the live. Is Paranormal Activity 6 that bad that you would give a 0? I'm tempted to watch this franchise now because that's almost more intriguing of a proposal. I can't be that bad. I mean, it's probably not one of the better entries, but still, 0? Come on. Christine. Okay. Is this the... So I think Christine had a original one and a remake, right? Trailer... Or the poster here makes me think the remake. Let me see. 1983. There was an earlier one than that, right? Or was there not? Is the 83 one the original one? Maybe I'm thinking they are remaking it. But I've seen this movie, but it's been a long time ago. People on the side over here giving this one like an 80 out of 100. I don't think I can fairly judge it because it's been so long since I've watched it. If you're not familiar, you have this killer car, essentially. I did watch a few, like last year, I think it was, that killer tire movie, which was absurd. But it's been a long time, so I can't really judge Christine too much. I probably am not a big fan of it because I don't have the nostalgia for it. I feel like the idea of a killer car, it's one of those things where it's like, If you didn't watch it at its time, is it still scary? Probably not. So I assume I would put this one around like average to below average. The Dark and the Wicked. So this is a movie I need to watch. Where is it saying this is streaming? I've had a lot of people recommend this movie to me. Looks like kind of mixed results on reviews on the side, but I need to watch this one at some point. I've heard a lot of great things. It's just not on any of the services I use really, so that's why I haven't jumped into it. But at some point, I'm going to have to watch this one, and I assume I'll enjoy it based off all the feedback I've heard. All right. The randomizer must know me. We got Saw 6 here. Dang, people really hated this one too. 12 out of 100, come on. Saw 6 is kind of viewed as, of the later entries, the best one. I probably agree with that sentiment. As I said earlier, I don't love the opening with like the chopping off limbs stuff. It feels very like gross for the sake of just being gross. I don't feel like it's necessarily like super innovative or cool or anything like that. I prefer the aspect of Saw where it's like mind games a little bit more than just like pure gore and just body parts flying. And the opening definitely did that. I like the concept, I think, of doing the whole like medical stuff with like the insurance being kind of screwing over Jigsaw as far as getting coverage for this procedure. It's kind of going with a social like message, but I think it works for this film, and honestly it still works today as far as a thing that a lot of people deal with. I don't love the ending. I feel like it's a little obnoxious when you get the kid who like pulls the thing and he's like, "You killed my dad." Honestly, that twist too with like the girl there being his sister, I think instead of his wife, is what they were going for. Didn't do a whole lot for me. So as far as like twist endings for Saw, this one's one of the worst ones. But I think the story of like why the guy's being tested makes a whole lot more sense than like something like Saw 4. This one has a realistic reason to be tested. I will say though, the guy at the beginning, a lot of people talk about this. The guy at the beginning, the janitor who's getting tested alongside him because he smoked cigarettes. I don't know. Like, I get sometimes in Saw traps, you have to have like casualties that are just like part of it. But if we're trying to use John's like message, what did that guy do? I don't know. It feels like a stretch to have that guy included, especially since you had the CEO of the insurance company. Like, they're doing like a breathing test and you have him against the smoking janitor. It's like, dude, that guy's not going to be able to win. Like, you just gave him such a disadvantage, and he's not even somebody who did something wrong that maybe he did something wrong that we don't know of. But as far as what they tell us as the audience, he didn't deserve that. You get the shotgun carousel with the guy who goes like full like Dark Knight, like look at me thing, which is fun. So it does a lot of great things, but also some that aren't as strong. I don't remember where I gave this one. I think when I ranked these, I did a tier list, so I don't think I had actual scores. Off the bat, maybe for Saw 6, I'm kind of thinking like a 6 out of 10. I know a lot of people love this one, but it's good for me, but it's not top tier Saw. It's impressive considering how much I despised Saw 5, that they kind of made a comeback. But I think this one didn't perform well, and that's kind of why they ended the franchise. My understanding, Saw 7 was supposed to be 2 separate movies, but they're like, hey, let's just mash it together. Let's close this thing out and move on. So I think Saw 6, I think after 5, 6 didn't wind up doing as well, and that resulted in the franchise kind of plummeting after that. But decent movie overall, much better than the reviews over here implied that it is. His House. Haven't seen this one. Holy, it's got an 87 out of 100 though. Reviews for horror movies specifically are so like jarring. It's either like 1 out of 100 or like 90 out of 100. Like there's got to be some middle ground. His House. Haven't heard of this one. 2020 movie. It's on Netflix. Okay. Rotten Tomatoes says 100%. IMDb is 6.4. All right. The synopsis here, we have a refugee couple makes a harrowing escape from war-torn South Sudan. Oh, is this one? I think I've heard of this one. Is this the one where people are like in the walls? But then they struggle to adjust to their new life in an English town that has an evil lurking beneath the surface. I've heard of this one. I think I watched a video one time where somebody recommended it. So I think I know the plot of this one, where they try to escape their like impoverished prior life, and they try to better their life. But I think they wound up going to this house that is like traumatizing and is much worse than they actually were in their prior country. So, I mean, this is higher praise. Yeah, I'll write this one down. Definitely have to check it out. And I do have Netflix currently, so I can definitely jump into that one. I've heard a lot of good feedback, so I definitely need to watch that one, especially since I claim The Ritual is the best horror movie on Netflix. Got to watch this one to do some comparison there. Gretel and Hansel. So, not one I've watched. Obviously, it's somewhat based off of the children's story. I'm assuming it's a little like creepier, obviously, than the story winds up getting. Let's see. Yeah, 2020. It's on Tubi. Definitely, Tubi is a very underrated source for actually decent movies. But I haven't watched this one. Maybe at some point I'll jump into it. What is the name of this? Transylvania 6 5000. There's no way that's actually... Is that really the name? Is that like the time period? 6 to 5000? It's on like this tombstone here. When did this come out? I think I put a filter on like 80s to now. Is this like an 80s? Somebody didn't rate it, so it's clearly not super well known. 6 to 5000. That title just is intriguing by itself. Yeah, it's an 85. 20% Rotten Tomatoes. It's another Tubi movie. Probably not one I'll jump into unless people really endorse it, but it's a cool looking kind of poster here. The Vigil. Haven't seen this one. Huh. It says it's on Hulu here. 84 out of 100 and 77 out of 100. So that's a pretty high praise for a horror movie. Let me see. Check this one out. 2019. Rotten Tomatoes says a 90%. IMDb only a 5.8. Synopsis. A young man agrees to fulfill the ritualistic duties of a shomer and sit in vigil over a dead body, but realizes something is very wrong when he arrives at the dilapidated house. Okay, kind of what we heard with, what was that one earlier? With the House of the Devil as far as a story goes. So we have like showing up for a job and not being like it not being what you expected. Kind of a cool poster with like the candle. I like that artwork and his like melting face. It's creative at least. It doesn't really tell me a whole lot about the plot, but maybe that's a good thing. Jezebel. Okay. I'm feeling like the poster here is very revealing as far as what happens here. We feel like got maybe a split personality going on. Not super high reviewed, so probably not one I'll check out, but it feels like we're getting... I don't want to spoil it necessarily, but I'm getting Malignant vibes from this poster. But who knows? Could be good. Black Rock. Not familiar with this one either. Looks like we have a little like rowboat down there. Canoe. We already had Leprechaun. We're back around. They don't have that many horror movies, apparently. I guess if we're doing random, it makes sense to get same one. Bad Hair. Don't know this one. I'm getting like, what's his name? The horror anime. Uzumaki. I'm getting Uzumaki vibes from this. Like Spiral. Could be intriguing. It's not super high praised on scores here, but Poltergeist. So this looks like the original Poltergeist. Actually, I think I watched this one last year too because I had not really fully watched it before. I don't think it's as great to me as it is for a lot of people. Part of it's because I don't have the nostalgic attachment. It's not that scary to me. I feel like it was pitched as being a very scary movie growing up when it came out. Reviews over here have an 86 out of 100 and 80 out of 100, so it's definitely highly praised. I think it's an iconic movie as far as like the history of horror, but it's just not one that I really like super love. I don't know. I'll probably say this one's like is it bad to say 5 out of 10? Maybe I'll rewatch it at some point and give it like a fair like review. But my first thoughts are very average. And as I said, this is kind of supernaturalist. That stuff doesn't entirely work for me. And obviously they made kind of a franchise out of it, but not a whole lot. But The first one's likely the best one. I haven't really watched a whole lot of the other ones, but it's an okay film. It's just not really my subject matter, I would say. Bingo Hell. Don't know this one at all. Probably just going to move on from that. Interesting name, but don't know it at all. Escape Room. So I did watch this one. Actually, this one I watched like way in advance of it coming out. So this is one that I got a screener for. Back in the day, I used to get like screenings for movies before they came out. I don't do that much anymore, or really at all anymore. But this one I watched like months before it came out in theaters. I don't know why they set it up that way, because normally it was just like a week before. But I really enjoyed it, honestly. Like, I like the idea. I mentioned this with Saw. I like the psychological like game element where you're trying to navigate and figure things out. And this one, they kind of built upon Saw. It's a little bit more PG than Saw, obviously. Like, when you have deaths, they're kind of off screen. And I think the plot overall worked, though. I like the concept. I like the ending. I think it worked for me as a film. The second one, I don't know if I appreciated it as much. I thought they were supposed to... Did they ever make the third one? I thought it was supposed to be a trilogy. But maybe the second one didn't perform that well. But the first one I appreciated. They have it like a 30 out of 100 here. I think it's a little better than that, honestly. Escape Room. Is it like... I think I want to give Escape Room like a 7 out of 10. Is that too high? Like, it may fall in the category of like a favorite for me, or like a fun one for me that I like a little more than like the actual quality of it. But I like the characters in it. I like the actors in it. One of the girls is like big into board games as well. She's cool in the movie. They kind of bring her back in the sequel, surprisingly. But I would say definitely, if you haven't seen these, and if you like Saw, but you want to have more of a like tame experience, this one's definitely one to check out. It's kind of a little bit Squid Game-y as well, where they're like going through rooms and trying to survive. But it's a fun time overall. I thought, considering the concept had been done already previously when it comes to these kind of movies, I thought they executed very well and made it an intriguing watch still. So definitely one that I wouldn't say, as I said, is high quality, but I really enjoy it. The Lost Boys. So this is one I also watched, I think, last year. A lot of like the classics that I didn't have like the big nostalgia for, I tried to jump into a little bit. This is one that I think I respect a little bit more than I really liked. Scores over here have it 83 out of 100, 70 out of 100. I like the idea here. The movie has a little bit of a lull, like during it, I'll say, that I feel like it lost me for a little bit of time. Similar to something like The Thing, where it's like, this is a really cool concept. I like the idea. I like the subject matter here, but there's kind of some down period when we're like uncovering more about the vampires. Thematically, it's an awesome like town that they're filming in. I like the instruments in it, like the music in it. So I don't know. As I said, I don't have the big attachment. This is one that may grow for me over time if I watch it multiple times. Kind of what happened with Trick or Treat, where I watched it a few times, like, you know what, I like it more than I originally did. We'll give The Lost Boys for now a 6 out of 10, but maybe we'll rewatch it and give it a fair shake in the future as well. But highly praised by a lot of people. I know it's a big favorite for a lot of folks. Unsane. Don't know this one at all. It's got an 80 out of 100 though. Anyone here know this one? Unsane? That's a unique title, I'll say. Let's see, 2018. A lot of these like late 2010 films I've apparently missed. Who's in this one? Matt Damon's in this movie? What? Why would they not? I mean, maybe he's a minor character. Why would you not put him on the cover? I guess the main protagonist is probably on the cover here. It's weird to have Matt Damon like 4th on the list when I don't really know the first 3. Maybe he just has like a brief cameo. He's probably not a major character. What do we have for description for this one? Because it has decent scores overall. I mean, IMDb is 6.4. Rotten Tomatoes 80%. For horror, though, that's kind of hard to come by for high scores. Let's read the synopsis here. So Sawyer Valentini relocates from Boston to Pennsylvania to escape from the man who's been stalking her for the last 2 years. While consulting with the therapist, Valentini unwittingly signs in for voluntary 24-hour commitment to the Highland Creek Behavioral Center. Getting like psychological horror vibes, which the poster definitely does that with like the shaking. It's doing a little bit of that like early Saw, like camera going crazy. Her stay at the facility soon gets extended when doctors and nurses begin to question her sanity. Sawyer now believes that one of the staffers is her stalker, and she'll do whatever it takes to stay alive and find her way out. Okay, that kind of spoiled the plot in that synopsis. But that sounds like an intriguing movie. I'm going to write that one down. You got an 80% from scores here. You got my interest at least. And the concept sounds cool. Like you're trying to get away from this and it's following you kind of. I'm curious. I'm hoping the movie doesn't end with one of those things where it's like, you decide how it ends. Maybe they were there. Maybe it was all in her head. I could see them doing that though with a kind of a mental game like that. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Wow, this one's... I'm surprised. Review scores are that high? 77 out of 100? That's kind of surprising to me. So this is one that, as I said, I watched all of the Nightmare movies last year. So this is, I think, the last one I watched. It came out in 94. Let's see what the... IMDb has a 6.4. Rotten Tomatoes has a 75%. But I like the idea with this one, with having kind of a campy film, because this is the one where they are like doing the whole you're in the movie thing. Yeah. Yeah, so they kind of do the thing with Scream 3 here, where you have like this actual cast being impacted. I think there's a lot of thought that maybe Scream 7 is going to do a New Nightmare situation where you're having the actual actors back. I don't know if they will do that, because I feel like some of the feedback we've gotten is like, Stu is actually in the movie. It's not Matthew Lillard, so we'll see there. But New Nightmare, it's definitely a little bit campy with like having these characters playing themselves. But I thought it was okay overall. As far as a rating for this one, once again, I have not watched it. I did watch it last year, but I haven't watched it super recently. Preliminary thoughts here for me. 6 out of 10 fair, you think? It's around that average territory.